Okay, so here's a demo of the phone app. We have got an account with Apple on the App Store, and we've uploaded the app to their test flight section, which allows us to test the product. And then when we're ready, we push it across to the App Store for our clients. Very exciting. Now, just go across. We've got the icon there. So I'm just going to log into the software. What's going to happen here is that we're going to see any jobs that we've got on today, whether they're a service call, a delivery, or a collection. I don't have anything here, so obviously there's nothing there for me. Now, if I click onto the clients, this just allows us to obviously search for a client and then call them. We can call them straight from here. Go in and call their office, call their mobile. The next one is about directions, and then we can also text them. I'm logged in not as a driver, so I'm seeing a little bit more, and down the bottom you can see a create new invoice button. So the second release will allow the users to fully access the software, create quotes, check availabilities, not only just the driver version. So if I now go to the inventory, I see a list of my inventory, and also see the pricing, which we can change in that filter and say, show me my weekly pricing if I had someone on the phone. Clicking in, I can see the forklift, and I can see down the bottom the hourly, daily, weekly costs. Now I'm just going to go to the rental. I'm just going to find a job. So it's just got the standard details, and then we can see all our gear that's in the job, and then they can then go through and push those items out. They can also go into the item and change the amount. Say it was temporary fence and they put out 17 panels instead of 19, they could just change the amount there. Once everything's been pushed out, then I could go through to the signature section and then get the guy to sign the phone. And I can also take screenshots. So just in case there's some damages for the piece of equipment, then I can take a shot of it and then add that to an invoice later date. The delivery sections here is just going to give them delivery address, any site details, and once again they can just push items out or scan them in and out. This is actually the simplified version, of course, because it's our first release before drivers. Now let me show you a quick overview of the cloud desktop version. This is the dashboard, and we're actually just working out what our clients would want to see on this dashboard. So we're working on that now. The administration quickly allows you to have multiple companies with connections to Xero, QuickBooks, or MyHub at the moment. Your logistics and crew is over here. So these are all the people that work for you and all the vehicles you use. Your different rates that you charge out. Configuration details, job statuses, so you can rename these and change the colors. So these are the colors that show up on the calendars. The categories that you want to use for your inventory, and just any calendar settings. Things like email defaults here when you send out an email, when you send out a quote, payments or invoices, or when you send a POS, an invoice out. Your staff members have different levels from administrator down to sales, accounts, warehouse, and that transfers through to the phone app. So what they're going to see. There's just some other settings there. Tasks and services. This is going to show you all your service calls or maintenance calls. So everything that you need to repair or any jobs that you need to attend to are going to be here. And a user can come in and add items to it. So if they sell stuff or want to charge, then they can just drop that stuff into the service call. The next thing is the financials. So that's showing us all our POS transactions, which we can then edit and resend all the invoices, whether they're 15, 30, 60 days, and they can be resent. Then you have the payments tab, which is just going to show you all the payments which you can print the report for. Your long-term rentals. Now, what's going to happen here is you'll be able to just select and then process. So that'll process your long-term rentals. And then the last tab is going to be your reports. Okay, this tab is the calendars. The boys are working on that now, but this calendar will allow you to filter it out by certain aspects. So you might want to see your rentals or your service calls or your deliveries or your collections or your items in those jobs. And then you've got filters so you can sort it by a status. And there's some other settings there. But the calendars, you have the monthly view, you have a weekly view, a daily view, also a timeline view, which will just show you today and all your events. And then the last tab would be an agenda view. So we can see on the 27th, we've got 7 jobs. And here they are. The next is the availability system. This is going to show you what is available. So you can just select a category. We can see all these items are available. And then we could just click into a date and then create a new rental or quote based on that date, and that item would be added straight into the job. We can also filter it down, so we want to see it hourly. So now we've got 4 hourly, so we can see it in a day. That's for the companies that rent out half days or 4-hour blocks. You'll also have the ability to go in there, and if something is booked, to click in and see where it is booked at. The next button is the we don't need that. That just wants to check out the address, because once this system is finished, we would see the addresses in a map, and then we can map them out. So we can also prioritize how we want them to do the jobs, and that will update, drag and drop. That's your deliveries, your collections, and your service calls.
We will also have
this
integrated to routing
software for deliveries,
so details can be sent through to
and
your
mapping out your service calls. The inventory, we to create quick quotes, so we can just click into the field here and add items, and then go through to this quick quote, and then just pull those items, and it will fill up, and then we can create a quote from there. These red indicators tell us what's available for this date range. We can see that we can set a date range, and then these red dots will tell us what's available, so we know. If I go into a item, I'm just going to go into this, all the standard details, the rates and kits, and its assets. So we've got 8 of those assets. We can see non-active assets, and then in here we can just tell how we want to track and how often we want to service this gear. Also with test and tagging, how often we need to test it. And then we have a history of this item, and also the maintenance log. So every time we've spent some money on this piece of equipment, we can see that there as well. The next tab is a clients tab, and it tells us how much they owe you at the end. And from there we can send emails, or we can send text messages. Now those text messages can be predefined, so you can click edit and then create those messages yourself and then send those out. We can automate a lot of that too. And once again, with the companies, we can just drag a header. Now I'm just going to go to the rentals, which is next, and we can see our jobs, and they're color coded by statuses that we select, and we can then once again drag up here and then sort things by status, by company, by type. I'm just going to show 20, 50 items. There should be a few jobs there. By clicking on here, we can see what's actually in the job. Now the indicators on the right hand side tell us whether it's been paid for, delivered, invoiced, and if we've got a sub-rental issue. Then we can just click into that job, see the customer, when it is. Now if we wanted to extend the hire, we can just drag it out to it and it will calculate the days, and it will also update the pricing. So we have this stepper system at the top. So once the pre-check is done on the phone, then it would actually be selected and we know who did that pre-check. And what we're working on is we'll have little forms that you can create for each category, so that before the boys send a piece of gear out, they'll have to go and tick a few boxes, add some information, and that will be stored against the inventory item. Over on the right hand side here, we can see long-term details when we start, the frequency of how often we want to bill, when we're going to bill it for. We can also manage deposits, and there is an off-hire section. Now the off-hire section allows us to off-hire the gear and then create an off-hire invoice. If it is in the middle of a period, then we're going to bill for that, for what they've used up till now when we've just off-hired this job. On the left hand side, we've got our prep dates and times, delivery, collection. The next tab along is our item list, and I wanted it to be easy to add stuff, so you can just drag items across. It will do a check for availability, and everything is drag and droppable. We can just select an item and delete. Once again, we did this pull system, so you can just click in here and just pull the items, and it will go through. Obviously it's going to check the availabilities, but we'll just say yeah, okay, and it will just pull all the items from the list that we've created there. We can also add headers, which are names, so we can create a header. This is area 1, for example, and so that gets created, and then we can just drag that wherever we want, and you can put notes in that as well related to the gear that's underneath it. The next tab is the logistics tab, so we can see that these items, one has been out, but we've added some new items. The boys on their phone would click and just move items to be out, or we could scan them out. In here we can track return, partial returns, stand down costs, and also loss. So if we lose any of this gear, then we can track the costs. And we can see down the bottom here, these are our delivery, our guys, and we've assigned Ron and George to the job, and we want them to take the D-Max. And there's some technology in the delivery section as well. So in here we can search for an address, and then we can also pull up different rates from our system. We're connected to our Google search. And then we can just add. Then we've got our financials tab, which is going to be for our invoice. And we just hit booking invoice, and that's created. Then we can just email that. And then to take a payment, take the payment, how much we're paying. Now, the next tab along is the print and email. So here we can do quotes, checklists, contracts, return slips. Now, in the contract, we could add the images for the items, and we could add the sub-items. So it just means that if we've got a marquee with tents, poles, and ropes, we might want to show the ropes and poles, so we turn that off. And we also have a document store over there, so we can basically send attachments, and all your different docs will be in the system, and you can then attach them. So if we show globals, we can then send attachments, and so we'll send the contract plus whatever work statements, how to use docs, anything related to the job. And we also store multiple documents, so when we print this out, version 1, they might come and change the quote, then that'll store version 2, version 3. And in here is our sub-rentals. So we can then come here and assign a supplier, and we could track costs and what they've charged us, and then just push them across to everybody, and then add a request, and then we can process that, and it'll create the purchase order. Last tab is the document store, so any signatures off the phone will be stored here, and then any pictures taken on the phone will be stored here as well, which we can then add those pictures to damage invoices. Okay, so that's a quick rundown of where we're up to with the software. We still think we're 4 weeks away from allowing our existing clients to use it, but we're getting there. It's been a big job. Thank you.